Imagine this. You're, say, 40,000 feet up in a private jet. You're the CEO, flying to talk about a billion-dollar merger.
Okay, big stuff.
Right. But here's the thing. You feel the exact same deep peace, the same freedom you felt years back meditating alone in, like a simple hut in the woods.
Wow, that's quite the contrast.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So how does someone make that journey? From deep solitude, spiritual seeking, all the way to the top of the business world, but feeling like something else is guiding them? Like life itself is living through them.
Well, it sounds pretty wild, but that's exactly the real-life story we're exploring today. It's Michael A. Singer's journey.
Ah, yes.
We're drawing from his book, The Surrender Experiment, My Journey into Life's Perfection. Some amazing excerpts in there.
Okay, so the book is our source, and our goal here, our mission for this deep dive, is really to unpack this idea, living in sync with how life naturally unfolds.
Yeah, and seeing how letting go of what you personally want can lead somewhere completely unexpected, maybe even unimaginable.
And hopefully find some insights you can actually use in your own life.
Definitely. So let's start with the core concept, the premise. Most of us, and you've probably felt this, we use our willpower, right? We try to bend life to fit our desires. We have this mental picture.
The perfect job, the right relationship.
Exactly, how things should be. And we push and push to make reality match that picture. It takes so much energy.
Oh, totally. It feels like that's what you're supposed to do, make things happen.
Right. But Singer points to the rest of the universe. Think about it. Planets just orbit. Seeds become these huge trees, a single cell. It develops into a whole complex person.
Without us micromanaging it.
Precisely. There's this unbelievable perfection, this natural intelligence guiding it all, way beyond our conscious effort.
Yeah, when you put it like that, if life can handle galaxies or, making a baby, is it really my effort making the rainfall or my heartbeat?
Good question. Right. So Singer asked, well, what if we just respected that flow, that intelligence?
Instead of fighting it.
Yeah. What if we used our will simply to participate in what life brings? Would everything fall apart? Or would that same perfection we see in nature start showing up in our own lives too?
And the book is basically the record of him testing that question, his experiment.
Exactly, the surrender experiment. And it started, maybe surprisingly, with a really small internal shift. He's on a couch with a friend, this is back in 1970.
Okay.
And there's this awkward silence. He feels himself trying to think of something smart to say,
We've all been there.
Totally. But then something just clicked. He suddenly wasn't being the awkward guy. He was watching his mind be uncomfortable, watching it search for words.
Ah, like stepping back.
Yes. That sense of separation, he could see the thoughts, see the discomfort, almost like they weren't him. He was the one noticing it all.
You know that analogy he uses? Like seeing the hidden 3D image in those posters?
Yeah. Once you see it, it's obvious. You can't unsee it. He realized he was always that awareness behind the thoughts, but he'd just been too lost in them to notice.
So that famous question he poses, have you ever noticed that there's this voice talking inside your head that came out of this moment?
It seems like it. The perfect way to describe that dawning awareness. And that was really the start of this deep inner journey for him.
And this pushed him into deeper meditation.
Much deeper. He started feeling these powerful inner energy flows. And then came this really intense internal moment. He describes a booming voice.
Wow.
Asking him basically, do you or do you not want to know what is beyond you? Like a clear challenge, a call to go deeper still.
So not just noticing the voice, but going beyond it entirely.
Right. And this deeper practice, it brought both incredible peace in meditation, but also real turmoil sometimes when he came out of it. Like his usual self, his normal way of being, it was kind of dissolving.
That sounds intense.
It was. But he learned to observe everything, even physical pain, like his legs hurting from sitting meditation. He saw it as just the quiet experience of pain, totally separate from the mind's story about the pain.
And external things help too, like that trip to Mexico.
Yeah, he mentions seeing these simple mud huts. It really humbled that part of him, the personality tied to the mental chatter. Made it easier to let go of him, as he put it, when he was in pieces.
Oh.
He felt so open there, so connected. Ashamed almost that his own culture had distorted nature so much. And the inner voice, it went quiet for hours. That core longing was just for peace, for silence.
And this quietness, it led to other things, like insights.
It seemed to. He talks about working on an economics paper,
Yeah.
and instead of just thinking logically, he felt this cloud of knowing form behind the quiet mind.
A cloud of knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the thoughts, the ideas for the paper just poured in after that feeling of knowing, like a creative inspiration bubbling up from a deeper place, not just step-by-step logic.
Interesting. And even building projects challenged him, that sacred hut.
Right. His friend Bobby Altman designed it. It was way grander, way more complex than Singer's simple idea. It felt like life presenting something bigger than his personal practical plan. Another nudge.
He also connected his experiences to spiritual concepts, right? Like spirit.
Yes, he wrestled with these abstract terms. But then he connected spirit to that powerful energy flow he felt, especially around his forehead.
The third eye area.
Exactly. He linked it to Yogananda's teachings. Suddenly, these spiritual ideas weren't just philosophy. They were describing his direct experience. It made them real, relatable.
Okay, so he's had this big internal shift, these experiences. How did that become the actual experiment? The surrender experiment?
Well, this is where he kind of formalizes it. He makes this commitment. Inwardly, he's going to stop resisting. He's going to let the flow of life be in charge.
Simple concept, but huge implications. What were the rules?
Really simple, but radical. Rule 1. Treat whatever life brings, whatever it is, as an opportunity to go beyond his personal self, his likes and dislikes.
Okay.
Rule 2. If that personal self, that inner voice, starts complaining, I don't like this shouldn't be happening, use that complaint as the trigger, the signal to consciously let go of the resistance and surrender to what's happening anyway.
Wow. That is counterintuitive to how most of us live day to day. Got any examples?
Oh, plenty. Life offered him a chance to teach college classes. He was naturally shy, unsociable. His preference screamed, no!
But he surrendered.
He surrendered and did it. Someone asked him to tutor. The normal thing is to get paid, right? He felt guided to refuse payment, an act of surrender against expectation. And that great story about the public finance exam, instead of cramming, he just randomly opened the textbook 3 times, held it up almost like a symbol, saying, okay, I'm willing. Whatever comes, comes.
So he's actively practicing this letting go. Did things change? Did life respond?
Yes, he really felt clear guidance started showing up once he truly committed, like those letters about a spiritual community in California. They arrived at the perfect time, just when he felt ready to leave. It wasn't a decision based on preference. It was following a clear signal that life presented.
And he learned a kind of 2-step process for this.
Yeah, he breaks it down. Step 1. Notice your personal reaction, the like, dislike, fear, desire, and consciously let it go. Just relax behind it.
Okay, release the inner reaction.
Step 2. Once that personal static is quieter, you look with clarity. What does the situation itself seem to be asking for? Not what you want, but what's the objective next step being presented by life?
Ah, I see. So it's not about being passive or having no direction. It's about letting go of your preferred direction to see the direction life is offering.
Exactly. You got it. And following that life-presented direction consistently took him places he never, ever would have chosen for himself.
Like after he came back from that community?
Yeah, he focused then on really being able to relax inside no matter what his mind was chattering about, deepening that understanding. I am the one who notices the voice talking. He wasn't the voice.
And he saw yoga differently, too.
Yes, more as this dynamic energy thing, channeling energy upwards, not just suppressing thoughts or feelings.
Then came that big test back home. Friends building on his land without asking.
Talk about a trigger. Perfect setup for the ego to freak out. But he framed it as acceptance, acceptance, and more acceptance.
And that openness, it seemed to lead to other things, like spontaneous teaching.
It really did. He started giving these lectures at Santa Fe College. He describes it as just watching this continuous stream of inspiration flow out, turning into these powerful talks that connected physics, biology, psychology, religion, all pointing to the single underlying truth he was living.
And people responded.
Incredibly well, way beyond anything he planned or expected. And that led to another huge realization for him.
Which was?
That the energy flowing when he taught, it was the same spiritual energy he felt meditating. That sharp line we often draw between spiritual work and regular work, it just dissolved for him.
Interesting.
He started to really feel his life was being built for me, not by me.
This path also led him to work with prison groups.
Yes, and he found such sincerity there, such deep growth. That story about Creature, David Clark, this huge inmate, and meeting the spiritual teacher Amrit right there in the lockup.
I remember reading that.
It's incredibly moving. The feeling of love in that environment. It just shows how surrender can lead to service and connection in the most unlikely, profound ways.
Then there was the pull towards Baba, the spiritual teacher. His picture kept showing up,
Yeah, like life kept putting it in front of him. It wasn't just seeing a picture. It led to a really powerful energy experience for him, a magnetic pull.
which resulted in this seemingly impossible task,
Hmm?
hosting Baba's visit.
Totally impossible on paper. He was just a part-time teacher, living simply. Suddenly he needed land, staff housing, a big house, space for hundreds.
Things he just didn't have.
Not even close. But again, as an act of surrender, he said yes. He committed. And he describes how all the pieces just fell into place. Synchronistically, the retreat site, the house, it all showed up.
And his old friend Ronnie turned up there too.
Yeah. Completely transformed by his own spiritual path. It was like their different journeys just converged right there, brought together by this shared connection.
And that visit changed everything for him.
Permanently shifted his life's direction, he says. From focusing on solitude to focusing on service. It really energized the whole spiritual community in Gainesville.
And led to building the Temple of the Universe.
Right. Which, again, wasn't conceived as his project. It was meant to be a reflection of the reality of the infinite, open to all paths, all religions, the universe itself. Another surrender project.
So we followed surrender into deep practice, teaching, community building, but then somehow business. That seems like a huge leap.
It does, doesn't it? It started really small, agreeing to build an addition for a sheriff's deputy, just saying yes to what came along.
And that led to getting a builder's license.
Exactly, which became his construction company, built with love.
Catchy name.
Isn't it? And jobs just appeared, word of mouth,
Yeah.
one after another. And the timing was uncanny, like earning the exact amount needed to buy land next to the temple right when that land became available.
Wow.
He saw himself purely as a caretaker, a middleman for these resources, not the owner in the usual sense.
But the big pivot was software. Personalized programming. The medical manager. How did that happen? He decided against software.
That's the amazing part. It wasn't his ambition. He'd looked into it and thought, too time-consuming. But life brought it to him anyway.
So he saw it as
Just the next task given to me by the flow of life. He approached writing that medical billing software with the same focus he brought to meditation, like it was a gift to the universe, staying centered moment by moment while coding.
and life supported it, made it possible.
Perfectly, it seemed. Building contracts nearby kept him local so he could focus. He trained a part-time programmer, which ended up being life training him on how to manage software
And
development.
the software itself was good.
Apparently very good. It had innovative features like a template system for billing that doctors' offices loved. It took off quickly.
Then came the call from Systems Plus, meeting Rick Merlick.
Yes. And Singer's description is amazing. He saw Rick as being handpicked by the universal force to distribute the software nationally. It felt completely orchestrated by life.
So off they go to Comdex, the big computer trade show in Vegas. Quite a change from the woods.
Oh, huge. He said it was like going from the quiet woods to the big-time lights of Vegas instantly.
Yeah.
And the response was overwhelming.
Avalanches of requests.
Totally. Dealer seminars started in one room, then they needed entire hotels. The growth was just phenomenal.
But did he become, a stressed out CEO? Did the success change him?
He consciously worked not to let that happen. Daily meditation was key, keeping perspective. He didn't see himself as a businessman who happened to meditate. He saw himself as a spiritual person whose path, through surrender, currently involved running a business, putting his heart into whatever life gave him.
And they were innovators too, electronic billing.
They were pioneers. The first company to submit medical claims electronically in all 50 states back in 1987. He saw that success, that innovation, as just a living lesson in the power of surrender.
And the medical manager ended up in the Smithsonian.
Incredible, right? Archived as a piece of history. Something unimaginable when he was just coding alone in his sanctuary.
So big corporations started noticing them. Life was basically pushing him into being a corporate executive.
It really was training him for it. But he always maintained that the flow of life itself was his ultimate advisor, not just business strategy.
There's that wonderful story about getting lost in Boston.
Oh, yeah. Trying to find a vegetarian place, gets totally lost, ends up walking down this tiny alley. And right there is a place serving brown rice and vegetables, exactly what he wanted. And the owner recognizes him from his book, which wasn't even widely known then.
That's uncanny.
He saw it as a little miracle, a sign that life is always much bigger than our little plans and frustrations.
So, letting go of the like-dislike inside, it wasn't just about acceptance. It made him more sensitive to these nudges,
It's
synchronicities.
exactly. He felt that inner quiet allowed him to notice these subtle things, these messages from life gently nudging him along the way.
Like with the temple land expanding.
Yes. Opportunities just kept lining up, fitting together like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. Remember Paji's comment about his house?
Hmm.
So God called you one day and said, Mickey, your house is ready. It just captured that feeling of things being provided, not achieved through struggle.
But then came the biggest challenge, the absolute test of this whole experiment.
Yeah. 2003, the FBI raid, helicopters, agents swarming the property, search warrants. Complete shock. He had no idea why.
That sounds absolutely terrifying. How do you surrender to that?
An immense ordeal. Years dragged on. Lawyers, legal battles, not even having the documents needed for a defense for a long time. He had to step down from his company roles.
More surrender.
Every step was another letting go. Letting go of the company, letting go of his reputation, letting go of the resistance to the sheer injustice and fear of it all.
He talks about being in the courtroom for arraignment.
Yeah, standing next to inmates in chains. And instead of just fear, he felt this wave of love for them. And he let go of the fear of ending up like them. Finding peace right there in the middle of the potential disaster. That's deep practice.
And incredibly, during this darkest time, he wrote The Untethered Soul.
Right. Talk about following the flow. Committing to sharing this deep spiritual truth, even with all this legal stuff hanging over him. And he just watched the book manifest, sprout wings, and soar off around the globe, life unfolding powerfully even amidst personal turmoil.
The legal fight itself was long and complicated.
Years. Challenging evidence, his main lawyer getting seriously ill, delaying the trial, the judge stepping down, just one thing after another.
Eventually.
Eventually, yes, charges against others were dropped. And finally, in 2011, years after the raid, a judge's ruling on a retrial motion confirmed his innocence. The system worked, ultimately, but wow, what a test.
How did he look back on that whole nightmare? Did it leave scars?
This is maybe the most profound part. He says because he practiced surrender inwardly through every step, allowing the fear, allowing the uncertainty, letting go of fighting it internally, no scars were left on my psyche.
No spars after all that.
That's what he says. He didn't see it as a bad experience. He saw it as the purification power of life's flow, something that transformed him, created more beauty and freedom within.
That's incredible.
It really is. So after all these decades living this experiment, what was the final takeaway?
He felt like surrender to the flow of life was all that was left of me. The personal planner, the guy trying to control things, just wasn't there anymore. He settled into a quieter life, and then the inspiration for this book, The Surrender Experiment, just flowed in.
And the core message that comes through so clearly.
Life knows what it's doing. That's it, isn't it? When you really, truly surrender to that, this deep peace just settles over you.
Yeah. The mind stops fighting reality. The heart stays open. Life stops being an adversary.
And becomes, what did he say, a friend, a teacher, a lover.
Beautifully put. And his final thought in the book sums it up. When life's way becomes your way, all the noise stops, and there's a great peace.
Wow. Just, wow. What a journey.
So, thinking about this extraordinary path, all built on saying yes to whatever life brought, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What unexpected opportunities or maybe even difficult challenges might life be presenting to you right now?
Things you might be pushing against, resisting with your own plans.
Exactly.
Let's take just a minute here. Just pause and notice. Where in your life right now do you feel that friction? That sense of struggling, trying to force things to be the way you think they should be?
Can you hear that inner voice? The one saying, I don't like this, or it should be different, or I need to make this happen. The voice of preference, of resistance.
Okay. Now, just for a breath or two, imagine simply relaxing around that feeling, not fighting the situation, not even fighting the resistance itself, just inwardly letting go of the struggle.
It's not about giving up on action. It's about letting go of the fight against what is.
What might that feel like? To just participate in what's unfolding right here, right now. To trust, even just a little, that maybe there is a deeper intelligence at play. The same intelligence that built the stars and grew you from a single cell.
Michael Singer's journey suggests that maybe, just maybe, real freedom and a kind of beauty we can't even imagine lies just on the other side of our personal preferences, our resistance.
Waiting for us, perhaps, to simply surrender and allow life to lead the way. Something to think about.